Alright you guys, what's happening? Welcome back to another reaction video. This time we're talking the Betfred Cup final. Obviously a 1-0 win for Celtic. Another disappointing final for us at Hampden. That's 3 in the last 2 years where we've came out the bridesmaids. To be honest, I personally think that 1-0 to Celtic was probably the right result on balance, and we'll get into that as we go. Overall, the game itself yesterday wasn't the greatest game to watch, but it was compelling, and I suppose that's the least you can ask for in a cup final. I think the biggest disappointment for us really was in that last 15 minutes when we are pushing for an equaliser. We never really came close. I think a lot of times in big games, when there's a goal in it, you expect that last 15 minutes, one massive chance to come, and to be honest, it never really came for us. First off, I want to give a shout out to the Red Army display team. They have done some really good work over the last few years, particularly at Hampden, and I thought the beach end display yesterday was excellent, so massive kudos to the guys and girls who have been sorting that out over the last few years. And yeah, I think that was a brilliant effort. I actually really liked Celtic's display as well with the flags. I thought that was really good, and I think it adds to the occasion a little bit where you've got one end doing a display, the other end doing a display, and it just looks good before kickoffs. I think a lot of people looked at the starting 11 and weren't particularly impressed with the way McInnes led the team. I was certainly one of them. I hated the fact that we had Dominic Ball in and we had Lewis Ferguson playing advanced. I prefer Lewis Ferguson playing a little bit deeper. I really didn't like the fact that we started with Sam Cosgrove up front as well. I think Cosgrove, to be honest, just isn't good enough, and starting Cosgrove is normally an indicator of what the game plan is going to be. Although in fairness, I think it's fair to say that the way we lined up worked a hell of a lot better than people expected. So, but it did mean that we set up to be as stodgy as possible. But I think the plus of that was that I think for long periods of that first half, Celtic really didn't look like scoring. So we really set out our team to be as tight as possible, and to be fair, it kind of worked. So I suppose we've got to give a wee bit of credit to McInnes for that. The only thing I would really have changed in retrospect is I would not have had Sam Cosgrove up front. In the first half, we did have our moments where we got out. We were a reasonable attacking threat at times, but something that's really plagued us all season really plagued us yesterday. In the final third, we had nothing to offer, and that is just so frustrating. It's been so frustrating to watch all season. We had a couple of half chances, never really took them, but over the 90 minutes, we never had that one clear-cut chance. The closest we came to scoring wasn't even us. We'll get to that in a bit. Celtic, obviously, in the first half, they didn't have a lot of clear-cut chances. They did hit the post with Tom Rogic in about, I think it was about 7 or 8 minutes. He's cut inside from the right, which he's done against us a load. He's tried to curl one into the bottom corner, and it's hit the base of the post and went wide. But other than that, I didn't think Celtic had a huge amount of great chances in that first half. I just thought the first half was kind of just a battle. You know, it was that we tried to turn the game into a battle, and we largely succeeded. I think that we, in that sense, dictated how the first half went because we turned it into a battle. It wasn't like Celtic weren't up for the challenge of a battle, but that suits us better, to be honest, because on the big park, Celtic are a very good side, and if you let them play football, they are going to play in behind you, and at times they are going to drub you. I think there was a few people, especially after Motherwell last week, really fearing the worst yesterday, but the worst never really came. And yeah, I thought the first half, to be honest, was petering out. It was about 5 minutes before half-time. Obviously, we had the really bad head knock between Dedrick Boyata and Gary Mackay-Steven. Boyata came off okay, so that was actually good news, but Gary Mackay-Steven knocked unconscious, and it was a scary moment because I think, obviously, when you're at the game, especially when it happens at the other end, you don't always know the severity of what's happened, but the fact that obviously he was getting treatment for a while told its own story. And then I started to get some messages saying that, yeah, that was scary. He was completely out cold, and yeah, it's frightening. And I'm glad to hear that Gary Mackay-Steven was sitting up and he was okay and he was talking. So I think everybody wishes Gary Mackay-Steven the best with that one. I know a lot of people won't care on our side, but I'm glad that Dedrick Boyata came out of it okay as well, because that was a really bad one, and it was bad enough that our guy went down and obviously couldn't continue and had to go to hospital. But I think it's good news that Boyata was able to continue as well, although from an Aberdeen point of view, Boyata played such a massive hand in their opener. I think a lot of people will be able to make the, I don't want to call it an excuse, but yeah, make the excuse that Aberdeen were unfocused after the Mackay-Steven injury, which would be understandable, but it's worth remembering a lot of that Celtic team played with Gary Mackay-Steven, so that can be underestimated either. But Boyata's had a massive hand in their goal. So Boyata's picked up the ball on the halfway line. He has played a lovely diagonal ball in between the centre halves for Ryan Christie. Christie's brought it down well. His first shot isn't the best, to be honest. It's right down the middle at Joe Lewis. Lewis makes a decent save. Goes right back to Christie though, and he's finished it fantastically and off the bar. And that was ultimately the difference in the game. Ryan Christie comes back to haunt us. Obviously really disappointing to lose a cup final, and very disappointing to lose it to a guy who played for us for so long. But that's the nature of football sometimes, and Ryan Christie took the goal really well. The thing that pleased me the most about yesterday was actually the way we came out for the second half, because we have seen it so many times, particularly at Parkhead, where there has been games where we have played alright for the first, say, half hour, and then we've gone a goal behind and then we've capitulated. And especially in a cup final, the way it went yesterday, obviously you had that period where Mackay Stephen gets injured, you have that period where we concede the goal, and it would have been really understandable where the heads went down, but they really didn't. And I thought the 10-15 minutes after half-time was probably our best period of the game. I thought we played well, we looked better going forward without really creating anything clear-cut. And I was actually quite pleased with the way we reacted to that. So I thought that was a really good positive to take, that we didn't go a goal down in Glasgow and fault a bit. So that was pretty good. But in that period, Andrew Dallas struck. Now, I don't want to harp on too much about the referee, because I hate it when we lose to just be talking about the referee. But Andrew Dallas was a fucking disgrace yesterday. There's no getting away from that. Andrew Dallas was not fit to referee that cup final. He is only there because of nepotism at the SFA. He was a fucking shambles all day. He is a guy who has no idea what he's watching. He is a guy that is guessing. I feel like Andrew Dallas gave them a lot more than they gave us. There's obviously a bit of my bias there in that, but I honestly felt that Andrew Dallas... I don't think Andrew Dallas cost us the cup final by any means, but I thought Andrew Dallas gave a lot of 50-50s their way, gave a lot of puzzling decisions their way. He gave us a couple as well, don't get me wrong, because he's just not good enough. I don't want to call him biased, but at times it did feel like we were playing against 12 men yesterday. I just think he's incompetent. I just think he's one of the worst referees at the top level, to be honest. So, and there's a lot to choose from there, and Andrew Dallas is just absolutely, completely, 100% out of his depth. That should ensure that he never referees a cup final. Alarm bells were set off early in the week when it was announced he was going to be refereeing the game. So I think it's shambolic that he was given the game, to be honest. He's not good enough. Everybody knows he's not good enough, and yeah, he's still given such a massive game. It's ridiculous. I'm already sick of talking about referees, to be honest, so that's going to be the last I do on this video. But Scott Sinclair takes the penalty after Dominic Ball's handball, where he's headed it onto his own arm, so in no way is it deliberate. And then obviously he's outside the box when it hits his arm, so fucking ridiculous decision. But Joe Lewis with an unbelievable save from the penalty. Goalkeepers get a lot of credit for saving penalties sometimes, just because they've guessed right, but what a save that was. Not only has he obviously guessed right, he's got a strong hand and he's somehow parried it around the post. That was one of the best penalty saves I've seen in a long time. Justice was done on that, and it really lifted Aberdeen from there. And unfortunately, the biggest problem that we have really did rear its head. We have no creativity up front, and unfortunately we showed absolutely nothing going forward after that. Obviously Mackay Stephen was off, so we were lacking a wee bit of width. McGinn really wasn't playing well, and from there our best chance of scoring was from Simunovic. I think it was actually his first touch when he came on. Boyata pulled up later on. I don't think it was anything to do with the head injury, but he came off for Simunovic, and I think Simunovic's first touch, he's tried to hook a clearance from 20 yards out and he's hammered it off his own crossbar. Bain was beaten, and yeah, I mean, if obviously we'd have taken it, but I think it was really disappointing that that was our best chance to score. We had a couple of chances here or there. We had one with James Wilson hooking it towards goal, but it was a comfortable save for Bain. Max Lowe flashed a fantastic cross across the box, but there was no takers. But yeah, it was just really, really frustrating that we had those moments. We had a couple of set pieces as well, and just never, ever looked like scoring. We never looked like threatening Bain. Bain didn't have a difficult save to make all day. I think the most difficult save he made all day was from Considine, and Considine was flagged for offside anyway. It's another cup final, it's another defeat, and yeah, it is really, really hard to really balance what I thought about the team yesterday, because I've seen two trains of thought. I've seen people say they're very, very proud of the team, and I've seen people extremely frustrated that we have no creativity going forward. And I think you have to have a bit of nuance and say it's kind of both. To play them on the big park at Hampden in a massive game, we know they tend to turn up for massive games, and really make life difficult for them was very pleasing. But we are struggling for goals, we are terrible up front, and we really, really need to do some business in January if we are going to do anything this season, because I think we've got the makings of a good back four. I think our midfield two particularly is pretty good, but apart from that, we are really struggling. Gary Mackay-Steven obviously at times can be unplayable. McGinn is so off form at the moment, it's frightening. We don't really have anybody to play that role behind the striker, and we cannot be satisfied with our striking options. I mean, James Wilson, it's obvious there's a football player in there, but we're not really getting much out of him. Sam Cosgrove is the complete opposite. He is a hoodie, and we just have to be honest about it. Connor McLennan and Bruce Anderson, the young guys, I think it's, to be honest, time to give one of them a chance, because I think McLennan, when he came on yesterday, he's quite exciting. I think he's good at running at people. I think the problem he had yesterday, though, was that he doesn't really have a left foot. And when he's stuck playing out on the left, he was very, very good at hitting the byline, but he wasn't going to get any balls in with that left foot. He was always looking to cut back, and Mikael Lustig knew that, and really just was going to show him to the byline every time. I'd quite like to see Connor McLennan play more central. He did against St Mirren that time, and he scored a fantastic goal, so I would like to see him get a chance. Obviously, Bruce Anderson's been exciting when he's came on as well, and I would like to see one of those two get at least a start or two in December. My pick of the players yesterday, to be honest, for Aberdeen was Max Lowe. I thought Max Lowe was fabulous yesterday. Now, I've been one of those who hasn't been convinced by him defensively, but I thought defensively he was really, really good yesterday. He kept James Forrest quiet, and I think going forward he was really, really good. He had the best delivery all day, which was a shame that we didn't have any takers. It was a low drilled cross that had their defenders facing their goal, and if anybody gambles on that, it's a fantastic opportunity. But I think most importantly, he was able to contain Forrest yesterday. Forrest has been unbelievable the last month or two, and I thought Max Lowe did a fantastic job. I actually thought that was Max Lowe's best defensive game since he's came. So yeah, really, really impressed with Max Lowe yesterday. Considine still worries me at centre half, to be honest. He is very, very bad for grabbing the shirt, and he is very, very bad for stepping up at the wrong time. So the quicker we get Mikey Devlin back, the better. Not just as a sort of witch hunt against Considine, just because I think Devlin and McKenna are a fantastic partnership at centre halves. Shea Logan's been a bit up and down this season, but I thought he did a really, really good job yesterday as well. But yeah, I thought the pick of the bunch for Aberdeen yesterday was Max Lowe. I thought he had a fantastic game, and it's just a shame we didn't really have anything up front. Mackay-Steven had his moments before he got injured. McGinn had a poor game, to be honest. Taking off McGinn in some ways was the wrong move, because it meant we had very little width, but McGinn didn't do enough to stay on the park yesterday, so I can't really criticise the manager for that. I would have liked to have seen Scott Wright at some point yesterday. I think that game was begging for Scott Wright, to be honest. I think it was begging for a guy with pace to run at them, because that was probably our best opportunity to score. They have got their centre-half sorted out with Boyata and Benkovic. Benkovic in particular, I think, is a fantastic player, and they are very good in the air as well. So punting balls to Cosgrove is one thing, but getting the ball wide and putting crosses in is probably where we are going to be at our best. But at the same time, they can deal with that. So I would have liked to have seen Scott Wright on. To be honest, I'd have brought on Scott Wright for Mackay-Steven, because I would have liked to have seen Scott Wright running at their fullbacks. I know Scott Wright can run into blind alleys a lot, but it just gives you something different, which we never really had yesterday after GMS went off. We got to the final and we gave Celtic a decent game, so I suppose we have to be happy about that, but we do have to be wary of the fact that this team is really, really, really struggling for goals, and that is going to kill us this season. I think that Aberdeen fans have been taking Europe for granted the last few years. I can't see us qualifying for Europe this season with this team. I think, to be honest, right now it is less than 50-50 that we qualify for Europe, if we're being completely honest. I think we can turn this season around, particularly if we do some decent business in January, but at the same time, we've got a lot of games between now and January, and we are in a position now where Kilmarnock and Hearts and Rangers and Celtic could leave us behind. So I still think we will finish in the top half of the league, but I honestly don't see us finishing in the top four, which would be really disappointing. And to be honest, it would be damning for Derek McInnes' summer business, because the team obviously went backwards in the summer, and the guys that McInnes brought in really haven't been up to it. So he's got to sort that out in January. But that's something to worry about down the line. Obviously, we got Rangers on Wednesday at Ibrox. That is going to be a really, really difficult game. And yeah, I think obviously Rangers are a better side than they were last season, and I think we've gone backwards. And the 2 times we went to Ibrox last season, it was a fucking train wreck. So it's worrying. We have obviously beaten Rangers in Glasgow this season, and we did draw with them at home in the league on the first day, but we were fortunate to get that draw, and we played the majority of that game against 10 men, so that's worrying. But hopefully we will see a reaction from the boys on Wednesday, and hopefully we can get up the table, because the League Cup is done, and the Scottish Cup doesn't start for a couple of months. So hopefully we will get our act together in the league. We look to be getting it sorted until that disaster at Motherwell last week, and we can't afford another terrible result at Ibrox. So I'll be there on Wednesday. Hopefully we will get something positive out of it, but we'll see what happens. Alright, so we'll leave it there. I am exhausted. It's been a long weekend. I actually left this till Monday afternoon, and I'm still fucking knackered. So we will get this wrapped up just now. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new, hit that red button. I would really appreciate if you enjoyed the video to hit the subscribe. We've got a few different things going on here, so any support to help grow the channel would be greatly appreciated. Like the video as well. It really helps it get out there. And if you think anybody would enjoy it, share it around. I have been QMJ. I am still fucking knackered, and it's Monday, but I will talk to you again sometime.